All right, so we're back, episode 3 of the Headquarters podcast. Today I got my homie Damesy here, and I also got Hermit as well.
What up?
We went and listened to a pretty special thing, and Damesy was involved in kind of organising it and setting it up, and yeah, pretty closely involved with running the whole thing. Do you want to let the people know what it was?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to listen to Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, the secret one-of-one album by the Wu-Tang, recorded over like 6 years. Finished in 2013, I think.
Yeah, 2007 or 2013.
Yeah, which is, we're doing official listening parties at Frypan Studios at Mona, which is the first time really that they've done proper official listening parties for the album. So it's a very sort of exclusive affair that not many people were able to secure a spot to. So it's been...
How many people in total? Do you know, like the for the ticketing, the listening thing, do you know how many people, like an estimate of how many people went and listened?
Yeah, so it's 2 sessions a day for 10 days.
Two sessions
20
a day?
sessions, 30 people in each session, so 600 people.
600 people? Jeez, how many people listened to it before then? Do you think, like an estimate of that?
Yeah, like it would be a total estimate. So it would be obviously everyone that worked on the album. I'd want to say about the same, maybe.
That's crazy. I think we added up the other day, like the population of the world of what that would be.
Yeah, it's like an infinitely small percentage of the world's population.
Especially for like Wu-Tang fans as well. There's
Yeah.
millions of those.
And there's only one copy, hey, of this.
There is one physical copy on CD, one of one. It's got an amazing ornate.
Yeah, we'll put a photo
box.
up of it, yeah. That was the one that they shared on the Mona page, hey?
Yeah, so the actual case that the CD's in is actually on display in the gallery. And in the studio for the listening parties, we're playing a curated 36-minute mix, 36 chambers, which I think that was quite deliberate.
Yeah.
Was it actually?
Of course, bro.
yeah.
They're all about mathematics, bro.
Yeah.
And so the mix that we're playing in the listening parties was curated by the album's producer, Cilvaringz, specifically for these listening parties.
Yeah, dope.
Yeah.
That is fucking sick, man. I was going to say, explain what it was played on. I think that's really cool. I know it was on your... And why it had to be played on that. We had a brief chat about this. I was a bit blown out when I seen a PS1. Why a PS1 did that album, or the listening that we had, it had to be played on a PlayStation 1?
Yeah, so they're all coming through the original PS1, which also has the limited edition Wu-Tang controller. And the reason that we were given or told is that the optical drive in the PS1 is actually one of the best ones ever made, and the original one with the proper RCA outs on it is supposed to be one of the better optical drives going around. Even audiophiles collect them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So just for the listening purpose of it, it's just like...
Yeah, and it also adds to the sort of theatrical nature that we sort of...
Yeah, well, Hermit was saying that, I didn't know this, but Wu-Tang had like their own PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah.
That was the CD case. They took it in and out of Shaolin style.
Yeah.
What game was that?
It's a fighting game. And
right, that makes sense for the Shaolin stuff you were saying yesterday. Yeah.
It's like a brawling sort of fighting game. It's pretty fun, actually. I did play it many, many years ago, but we haven't had a chance to play it yet in the studio, but we'll probably fire it up.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
What was before you came up, we kind of spoke about it, but what was your like overall thoughts on what you heard? And I'll share mine as well, although it isn't as educated as both yours. But what did you think when you were listening to that 30-minute sort of section that we did?
Oh man, like during it, I wasn't really thinking at all. I was feeling. I was just like the child in me, and the young adult was just
I was
like
looking over to you, you're like fucking meditating, like.
Right, I was levitating with the abbot right there, bro. It was just so exciting. I had all the fucking best samples. It had little, I wouldn't say Easter eggs because they're very just there, but just little things that if you're a Wu-Tang fan for a long time, you're like, that's from that, that's from that, that's from the same movie that they chopped that sample from. And Cilvaringz has like dedicated his whole life to sounding like making RZA beats.
Yeah.
So he did well. And then, you know, all the rhymes, crazy. Are we allowed to say like who was rapping in what order and shit? What are the rules?
I mean, I don't know. You signed an indemnity form. Did you read it?
No.
Well,
Okay, so
we're not
Inspectah
disclosing.
Deck coming in first on the album, rapping. That was
First of all,
hoping
we
that would be a
heard.
thing.
So to explain to people that are listening, we did hear you'd be able to explain this a bit more, like explain kind of what we heard. We didn't listen to the entire album, hey?
No, the entire album. It's a double album, and in its entirety is like just over 2 hours long, apparently.
Right.
And yes,
That's hectic. Jeez, that's massive.
And I guess also to keep with the like exclusivity of it, it's cool to only show like a small part of it, being the 36 minutes that Cilvaringz put together for these parties. But yeah, I really think, I mean, a lot of Wu-Tang fans are probably like, oh, you know, RZA didn't make the beats. It's all Cilvaringz. He's a Dutch Moroccan fella who was the first outside of the US to be an affiliate of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
But sonically, I think he really did nail it.
Yeah, no, I think he did an amazing job because if you didn't know, you'd think RZA produced it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he kind of gets the moniker of RZA's protege and has sort of dedicated his whole producing career to sounding like RZA, I guess.
Yeah. But no, I think he nailed on the head there.
Yeah, and it was like some of them were so polished. I was like, oh, this is even like so smooth that it was like, well, RZA didn't make this because he was, you know, he's pretty raw with his style.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the only time he was polished was Wu-Tang Forever.
Yeah.
And that was
100%.
an orchestra behind that
Yeah.
as well.
But yeah, some of the, like you say, the little, which is always a big part of Wu-Tang, is like the skits and interludes.
100%.
There was heaps of that, you know.
Yeah.
There was heaps, yeah.
The samples from all the movies, and you know, so it still had that really solid. Oh, this definitely feels like Wu-Tang.
They sampled a lot of
the
like
first 2 minutes. There wasn't a verse.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just
It's like that storm ambiance. Like it was a lot of that stormy, like that kind of rugged sort of storm vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and all
that's
the
Wu-Tang, baby.
that's obviously a thing that is kind of like
as most people would that listen to them a lot, it's definitely a heavy feature of all of their music. Is the conversations and the weird skits and the RZA just saying some wild shit out of nowhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Which there's definite moments of that where it's like
Do it again.
Yeah.
Another one.
so like overall, what would you say then? Your opinion of the 30 minutes that you heard was what's your?
Thought it
opinion
was
on it?
fantastic, bro.
Do you think it's the best
time.
shit you've ever heard from them?
No, because they had to make the first shit for it to be what that was.
Yeah,
exactly right.
You know, like RZA coming up with 36 Chambers and doing the first 5 albums of solo albums and then Forever and all that. Cilvaringz wouldn't have been able to produce that.
Yeah.
And do that without RZA coming up with that first. He's the pioneer. So I think those earlier albums will always be the GOAT. Like, you know, you've got 36 Chambers, Liquid Swords is a massive one for me as well. You know, Cuban Links, all that stuff. Iron Man album, they're still going to always be the best. But this held up. It wasn't a shit album.
No, I really liked the production of it. Like, I thought the production was sick. Like the instruments and how it sounded. Obviously, we listened to it on an absolutely fine-tuned
Yeah, we did
system.
spend quite a few days in the studio, like fine-tuning the system and really, which was interesting because the first couple of days that we were doing it, we didn't have any of the actual source material to work with. So it was like, okay, well, I'll take some of these beats and these ones and try.
Oh, so you didn't tune it listening to the
No, but we were under the impression that we wouldn't be able to.
Right.
But when the album actually arrived, the representative from the company that owns it is super easygoing, and he was like, no, we can. If we need to make this sound as best we can, so we got a few listens in. Tune the room
of the same 30-minute thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were very excited when you did that. I got a message from Damesa. He's like, I've listened to it. And I hadn't checked my phone for like 2 hours. Maybe it was like for 45 minutes. And I get more messages like, Hayden, reply. I have listened to the album. Like, oh shit, it's real.
Yeah, it was like a moment of like, oh, this is actually happening. It's here, and here it is. And
How did it arrive? You were saying like when it came, like what was it? Did it arrive in like some like triple locked briefcase sort of vibe? Like what was it when you first saw it kind of come in? I'm guessing the Frypan Studios. What was that like?
so it's currently owned by a digital art collective called Pleaser. And they sent over a representative with the actual physical album.
Yeah.
And he had it in a briefcase and carry on, handcuffed, and he was handcuffed.
Handcuffed?
Security. No, I'm just joking. No. When these things travel, I guess it's up to like the owners of how they want to deal with it. But there's a few like sort of art courier services that'll help you get, because it was taken as carry-on luggage.
Wow.
So, and because it's a giant metal box, it's a bit of a difficult thing to get through an airport.
Imagine if you got robbed holding that, bro.
Well, speaking
Bill
of,
Murray's allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang can do it.
let's. That's like on something that I kind of wanted to talk about is to the terms of this. Like, can you explain a bit more on the terms?
Yeah, there's the contract that whoever owns it is, enter in an agreement that it can't be commercially released for, is it?
It's 88 years from
88
initial
years?
sale
Yeah.
in
From-
2015.
Yeah, when Shkreli bought it.
So what
2,103. We'll all be dead.
is when it can be released on like Spotify and shit?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
correct. And they have, or however, whoever owns it, then whatever they really want to do with it. That's
Yep.
when that's sort of the time on that lapses. But there are some, like, there's a couple of crazy clauses in the contract that any original member of the Wu-Tang Clan, so the original 9 members, or Bill Murray of all people, and I think it's
Random as
yeah, I think in the contract the wording is actually can stage a heist, basically, and steal it back. And
And then what happens?
if they
Then it's
steal
just-
it, then the contract basically voids the contract, and it
And who would have came up with that contract?
probably RZA.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just like hella random. Like, is that publicly out there to view the?
yeah. You can
Contract?
like if you do some deep diving on it, that you can really get into the nuts and bolts of how the album actually came together from a Wu-Tang perspective. How it was decided to be one of like an art piece of like, how much is, music valued in the same sense that art is, because you can see a $20 million painting.
I was
on
reading it was also like a rebellion against how digital music age has like
Yeah.
really devalued making music in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're all broke now.
Yeah.
exactly.
I'd probably
Yeah.
still be broke anyway, but in the most part, you ain't making money off streams or anything like that. So it was like, no, let's make one CD.
And
worth
speaking of
millions
the worth
dollars.
of this album, how much did this album sell for when it went into the hands of the
So
the digital art company?
Martin Shkreli was the original owner who bought it from the Wu-Tang Clan, and he paid $2 million US for it.
Jeez, when was this?
2015, I think.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah. He's, the internet probably knows him as Farmer Bro. So he was the guy that he had like an AIDS medication that went from $7 a pill to $700 a pill, and basically got himself in a whole bunch of fucking legal troubles, committing business fraud and stuff. So
Right.
he got locked up, and the album was seized by the feds in the States. And then they had it for a couple of years, and then they sold it to recuperate their, like what he owes, part of what he owes them, because he owes a lot of money. And it was bought by a digital art collective called Pleaser, formerly known as Pleaser DAO. And they sort of trade in NFTs and blockchain art.
Yeah.
And they really wanted, because essentially it's like the original NFT. It's like one of one.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
But it's
Eh?
a physical thing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, but they, had it in their collection. That was always talked about how, what do they do with it? Basically, it just sits in art storage most of the time. But they, were thinking about how to share it with the world in the right sort of frame that the album was created in, like a piece of art or whatever.
Yeah.
And the head of curatorial affairs at Mona actually, he knew about it and he was like, oh, maybe I can get this. And everyone was like, don't be stupid. They're never going to send it to fucking Hobart, Tasmania.
Yeah.
So he contacted them like well over a year ago. I think he was, trying to get in contact with them just to talk about it for quite a while before they even were like, responded to him. But yeah, he got through the negotiations and they thought that showing it at Mona, it was kind of fit the brief that they wanted to. So
yeah,
fast forward, like 12 months.
He's just dying in the background. We're both sick as, by the way. I'm crooked. This dude's been on a bloody 3-day test match, so he's feeling the wit's end. Sorry to cut you off there, James. It's just so funny seeing Hermit scour into a corner to blow his nose. I try to do it so quietly as well.
See, it's bad enough when you put this on your private Instagram, but now it's for the world to see.
Yeah, you'll be right, mate. It's all good. We'll let you there. But
we'll just edit that out.
No, we'll keep it in. Fuck him. So, this company got it. The editorial curator,
head of curatorial affairs,
reached out to them,
was like, and just tried to start the conversation to get it going, and then it sort of didn't really go anywhere for a while, and then the conversation started, and they were totally up for it.
That's dope.
Yeah,
it's so rare. I think we were saying the other day how there was things in New York saying, oh yeah, you can listen to this album, but it's not here. Was that in New York?
Yeah, so apparently on one of the Staten Island ferries, the Wu-Tang Clan's from Staten Island, obviously. Apparently on one of the ferries in Staten Island, that someone had put a banner over the side of the ferry that said, "Once upon a time in Shaolin is coming, just nowhere near you."
To Tasmania.
Which is a bit of a slap in the face to New York.
I went on a lot of hip hop pages from around the world, just do little flashbacks and stuff of classic hip hop and all that, and everyone's raging in America. How does this tiny little island and these kangaroo riding cunts get the Wu-Tang album and we don't?
It is. It's rare, man. It is really rare. When I heard that it was coming to Tasmania, it was a bit like, what? That doesn't really make sense. And you think of when they made that album, I highly doubt that they thought that it would have been the first, can you say the first official kind of listening party?
First official ones, yeah.
Would have been in Tasmania. That's very rare, odd. It's cool though. It's kind of cool that Tassie is doing that Mona is doing that sort of stuff, and actually, because like you said before at the start, that idea of getting it here was so out of the ballpark, but the fact that it has come to fruition and then really kind of...
Yeah, and I think the exhibition that it's a part of, which is called Name Dropping, kind of explores, what humans love to name drop and be involved in exclusive things.
So that's an exhibition.
It's part of the exhibition.
Right, because I saw that. I saw it with the tickets that we got and stuff. What is that exhibition? What is that?
Yeah, just
is it just that, the showcasing it, or is there more to it as well?
It's a massive exhibition at Mona that'll be running for quite a while, exploring the nature of humans and showing off and wanting to name drop, and I was there and I've seen this, and that person's my friend, and explore status and and I guess being one of very few people to hear something like that is
I'll be name dropping.
Brush your shoulder.
Yeah, it is cool. It's definitely something you can bring up when you're
I was there
talking to the grandkids and shit,
Wu-Tang.
Bringing that sort of thing up. But you listen to that 30-minute section, obviously, quite a lot more than us. What, 3, 4, 5 odd times?
As of the time of filming this, I've heard it 8 times.
Right, 8, and you're definitely going to hear it.
And I'll hear it another 14.
Right, so for people that aren't aware, Damser is working. What
Yeah.
what is your role there?
Studio assistant
Rightio.
at Frypan Studios. At the
Yeah.
moment, yeah.
So what is your like overall take and opinion on what you hear, and what was your thoughts when you first hear it? Are you still noticing certain things now that you're hearing it the 8th time, and then
Absolutely. Now that I've heard it, it's like when you know, when someone releases a dope album that you're really into and you listen to it a few times and you start to pick up, disseminate it a bit and pick up the nuances and the sampling and now I'm starting to sort of, I've heard the verses quite a lot. I know what's coming and but I was definitely not going to get sick of it. And I reckon even after it's all finished and said and done, I'll probably be a bit butthurt that I won't be able to hear it again.
Yeah. No, that's pretty understandable. You get it more than everyone else though, so count your blessings, sir.
Oh, 100%.
Count your blessings.
There's a few people in the team that are in every session. So.
No, for sure.
Yeah, like you got the security guards in there and that sort of stuff. And has there been anything like weird that's happened in the listening yet? Because when we were in there, to give a description to the people listening, so we went in there and there's just like beanbags sort of set up, and I'd never listened to music in this way before. Like usually if I'm like, it'd be like a homies like EP and we kind of all like get around and stuff. It was different being in like a room full of strangers just sitting down and just like listening to it. Like I had my eyes closed for most of it.
Quite a lot of people do.
It's cool way of listening to music. You can really take it in, and it's just like everyone's there. I thought people would be talking and stuff. No one was talking.
I would have bitch slapped someone if they started talking, bro. Like fucking slap them.
Yeah, at one stage
cunt.
I kind of looked over you to do say something. I was like, nah, this ain't the vibe. This is not the vibe at all.
No, that's why I didn't even look at you.
Yeah.
I didn't want any of your interactions at that time. Like
It was cool because you do
I
want to
said
take
to you
it
before, I
in.
was like, it's nice you're here, but when it started, I didn't want to look at you because when I knew you'd be like, oh, this is it. Well, I don't want to hear it.
No, I didn't.
Don't want to hear your voice.
Once I was in there, I kind of was just like, I wanted to take it in because more so the fact that there's only 30 minutes of this and I'm not really going to get another opportunity to have to listen to that again. Well,
and I guess part of
probably
like
not.
we wanted to really push that like active listening.
Yeah.
So the lighting setup is still, part of the show, but quite minimal.
And there was no real visual stuff going on, not much.
No.
In the sense, I thought maybe you'd kind of go in there just being in the, with how society is these days, we need constant simulation and that sort of stuff. I thought you would have had something up on the screen, but when I got in there, I was like, oh, they don't. But as I was listening, I could actually really hone into more of what I was hearing and that sort of thing.
Like hip hop meditation.
Yeah,
it
bro,
was,
that's
bro.
actually what it felt like.
It was like a group meditation.
It felt like that. That 36 minutes was not 36 minutes, man. It was like 10. Like
it went very quick.
When it started going silent and the dude like walked over to take the disc out, my brain was like, oh, there's 2 discs.
Yeah.
And then he started putting it in the safe. I'm like, oh, I looked at Kieran and I went, no. No.
Yeah, and there is a small sort of theatrical element.
Oh, it was an experience for sure.
Yeah, it was cool.
So
how he came up and like, and he like pressed it and stuff. It was a cool.
Oh yeah, the start actually having the PS1 sound as well. Like that's a nostalgia of its own.
When we were setting up, and so the PlayStation actually came with the guy from Pleaser, and setting it up and fired it up for the first time and the sound came on, I was like, that was so utterly nostalgic for me. And then it was like, oh shit, this is like a throwback to everything that, you grew up on.
100%, man. Like,
and being like, oh, this is like actually happening.
Yeah, it was something else. Like, just, that sound. And then, it starts with a, oh, fuck, I couldn't do that. I can't repeat the sounds, but
well, it's not going to be identical, so you could describe the sound. We're getting techie here, brother.
Beatbox the album. How good's your memory?
I can remember that intro really well, and then it's like, Raekwon starts speaking, he's doing in the little spiel, and then it chops into the kung fu samples from the Shaw Brothers flicks that they always use, and then it's like goes back into a bit of that, and it's like once upon a time in Shaolin, and it's just, fuck, man.
Yeah.
That was everything. My heart went all tingly. Didn't give a fuck what was going on.
It really, like, also I think the fact that it's only a quarter of the actual
Yeah.
album in its entirety.
They did a really good mix.
It
though.
makes you think like, well, what's the fucking rest of the album?
Who would have mixed that? Who would have
Cilvaringz.
curated? No, but the 30 minutes.
Cilvaringz,
Ah,
the
right.
producer who made all the beats from the album. He actually curated the 36 minutes for these parties,
Yeah.
and he called the mix the Tasmanian Chamber.
Right, so he did it specifically just for
that.
this.
He chose the bits
It-
of the album that he wanted people
It flowed
to hear.
quite nicely. There was times, and we spoke about how like a verse might have kind of cut off.
No, but it flowed well.
But it
though,
still
you know what I
flowed
mean?
nice,
It was
like,
only
with
4
the-
bars, but then it went
With
into another
the
song.
the interlude sort of styles in between, it flowed like really nice. It felt like it was telling quite a descriptive story.
Yeah, and I guess like some of them are like entire songs,
Mm.
and then there's other bits where it would
The last 3 were the longest, as
Yeah,
far as like I
especially
felt like
the
I was
last
listening to
one.
the whole.
How
Yeah, the
many-
last one, that real funky,
it's almost
upbeat one.
like a sequel to Gravel Pit or something.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Redman was on that one.
Yeah, that's when I first heard that, and I was like, oh, this. I assumed Redman would be on the album somewhere.
Yeah.
But then, when he came out, I was like, fuck yeah. And he's like, nailed it. I really
Yeah.
think Ghostface did a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah,
And
same with Raekwon.
Raekwon and
It was-
Method Man. I mean,
I didn't not hear enough RZA for my liking
It
for
was
the
like- yeah,
mix. It was like 2 bars.
Yeah, there's not much RZA in there, but the small bits that are in there still are like,
Oh, it's,
when
it's
he just
RZA to
says
the
some
T.
wild shit, you're just
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the one standout one was like another just reference to like penis and fallopian tube. I'm like, the amount of times
Yeah.
I've heard RZA reference genitals and the birth of humans and shit as a reference for
Descriptive
rhyming.
as well.
I'll show you some tracks off The Birth of a Prince by RZA. It's a whole song about the sperm cell leaving your balls and fertilizing a woman.
Right.
Yeah, he gets real
I
deep
might
with
have
that,
to- I might
man.
have
I'll
to
show you
hear
that.
this.
I'll show you that track. He gets real weird with it.
How many tracks do you reckon, like, even though, do you know, actually, you might know, out of the 30 minutes that we heard, how many different tracks was that? Do you know? I was trying to, at this start, I was trying to count, but I didn't know if it was like the same track, just different bars, different, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to disseminate because there is one bit that kind of chops and changes a fair bit. So I don't know, maybe 9, 10 maybe.
I
Yeah, I'd
really
say
want
so.
to hear it again.
I'd say so.
Think about it all night.
And what was
Just dress
the...
up as Bill Murray and
and you,
follow old
you
mate
could
to the
steal it.
airport. And you could probably get away with it at Hobart Airport. It's not much security.
When does he go back, James?
Yeah, that's
I
actually a
actually
really
don't know.
good idea.
We've probably got stronger security for the listening sessions than
Hobart Airport.
Hobart Airport.
Yeah, that was, they fully like waved us down when we went in there. Obviously no recording equipment. They didn't pat down. No, I don't think I got patted down. I
They
got
checked
waved
my
down with the...
pockets and they waved me
thing,
down,
whatever
but
that's
that's
called.
after they took my belt, which was stupid
Yeah,
because I
so-
had to spread my legs and then stand straight with my arms out wide, but
Yeah,
they took my
butt
belt.
cheeks out,
I wear
walking into
pants
the-
too big. So I'm like, bro, I can't,
Pants are
I
falling
can't
down.
follow this request. He goes, why? Because you took my belt. My pants are going to fall down. He goes, it's a rough day to be you, brother.
He wanted you to
He wanted me to,
stretch
okay, so say I'm standing up, right? He wanted me to stand like this. And for the viewers at home that have not met me, I'm a scrawny fuck. And I like baggy pants, man. And I had to take my belt off and them joints just started falling down. And I went, this is how I'm starting my Wu-Tang listening
just-
party.
I'm really going to prove to you that I don't have any recording devices.
Yeah.
Do you want to see my dick?
Do you want to see the deadly needle cork?
Did you catch anyone trying to bring recording devices in? Or do you know?
Well, as of the time of filming this, it's still not over. We've got quite a few sessions left, but no, everyone's been pretty.
That's good.
I mean,
You wouldn't want to be
I think
that-
everyone's just pretty
Stoked.
stoked to be able to be a part of it,
And it's the fact it's free as well.
yeah. So all the tickets were free. We've had quite a lot of people fly interstate for it, and there have been international visitors that
Wow.
have come specifically for it.
What's the furthest that you know of that someone come internationally?
Europe,
There was a guy
Jesus.
from France, wasn't there?
yeah.
Yeah.
There was a guy that we...
Yeah, he was in front of us in the
Yeah,
line.
he was French, but I think he was just down at the right
No,
time.
he
and
said
then-
he was from France.
And he came down specifically
Yeah.
for that.
It's
There
been
you
pretty
go.
cool to see the like varied nature of people that are coming to the sessions. Like, you know, like super fans like Hermit. You know, dudes wearing their old Wu-Tang Tour T-shirts or whatever, and then you know, people
I saw a
that
few
are-
kids. Was there kids?
There's so that anyone
that's-
under 18 has to have a parent or guardian, just
Right.
because of the nature of the searches and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's been, you know, some pretty old people in there as well, and like a couple of people that have no idea who the Wu-Tang are. They just wanted to be involved.
Yeah, I went with one of those people.
Oh, I know enough.
I went with someone that had no idea.
I know more than someone that would know nothing. And don't
Name-
try
okay.
quiz me on my own fucking
Name
podcast.
3 members.
3 members?
Yep.
All right. RZA, Ghostface Killah, ODB.
That's
Paid
pretty
attention.
good.
I was actually
There
impressed.
you go.
That's pretty good.
There you go.
Do you reckon he could have
No,
named
we're
it
not.
if we
This
didn't
is
mention
not
it this
Quiz
podcast?
Kids show. This is.
Do I reckon he could name them if what?
If we hadn't have done this podcast right now, so they weren't fresh in his head.
No, not this podcast.
Did you do some quick Googling before we got
I didn't
here?
do any quick Googling, but Hermit has been on my ass the
Yeah.
last few days.
I know.
And that's the truth. Like I definitely don't. They're not at the top of my list. That they're not on what I would listen to. Much respect. It was sick to go. I'm also wanted to go for the fact of also being able to come on here and have you guys on to kind of share the
Well,
yarn
even
and,
just like,
and broaden out to other people that you know didn't get the opportunity to go.
but I guess it explores that thing of like name dropping, and like some people just want to go because it's the hot ticket. You know, it's
I guess we've
Yeah,
expanded the
it
name
does
dropping.
honour the art experience that
Yeah.
Mona's trying to do with it.
yeah, like fuck. You know, when something's really like overly hyped, even if it's not like something that you've previously been interested in, of course you just sort of gravitate.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's really.
Oh, bro, I
Really
did it
into this.
hardcore
Maybe I
last
should do
night.
too.
I had a hip hop gig last night. First thing I did at soundcheck, I was like, "How are you, bro?" I'm like, "Just listen to the Wu-Tang album. How you doing?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh." Bladel was like,
Mic drop.
Bladel jumped on me. He's a big dude. It was fucking, yeah. I was definitely in a braggadocio mood.
Yeah, it's,
Wu-Tang.
and even like the worldwide media coverage has been pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were getting bloody
So
interviewed
there
at the
was
front and everything.
quite a bit of media coverage over the ladies' lounge thing recently.
Yeah, yeah.
The exhibition where the bloke from Sydney sued us because he couldn't go into a ladies only space. So that garnered like a huge amount of worldwide media coverage. But this is also like really knocking it out of the
this
park. People,
Stocks are up at Mona.
yeah, people are like,
Stocks
what
are
the
up,
fuck?
mate.
This
Yeah, what is this
this
place?
back end part of the world has like this really obscure, weird gallery.
Yeah.
And the Wu-Tang album is there now? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tassie's going to be going off in the next year.
I mean,
bro.
even like everyone on the staff and everyone that's comes is like, still can't believe this is actually here of all places.
Yeah, it's growing up in Tassie. It always like, you know, we do have that small town syndrome. Like it's a thing, and it's only been the past 10 years where it feels like Tassie's expanding a bit more to like a mainland, worldwide thing with what we're capable of that sort of regard. But I never thought when I first heard about this album that the first time I would get to hear it, if I was ever able to hear it, would be out in Berrydale.
Yeah, right?
Like, what?
Out in Berrydale.
Because, I remember hearing about it ages ago. I mean, oh, that's a pretty cool concept. Like, fuck, I wonder if, like, and yeah, just thinking, oh, I'm never going to hear that.
Yeah, 100.
But that's cool. Like, and then, you know, when it was bought by that Martin Shkreli, it was like, oh, really?
Oh, that was super disappointing, you know what I mean? He's a
But then it was
piece
kind of fun to see, you know, the internet's most hated man fall from grace and just...
My favourite saga of that was him and Ghostface going at each other online. It was
Well, they went
so
back and forth
amusing.
online.
about that.
Yeah, like Ghostface in a
And he had
kitchen
his
with all his grandmas
with his goons
behind him.
Yeah, just like, oh, I'd
Yeah, so
forgotten.
Is this a
it.
video or
Shkreli,
something?
Yeah.
bro, it was like all these online bases. Shkreli and Ghostface were going at each other because Ghostface was like, fuck you, you got our album. Because most of the Wu-Tang weren't happy.
That he
They're
had
never
it.
happy fully as a group about Riz's decisions, you know what I mean? But Riz is the business guy. He knows what's up. And Ghostface was chirping. Skrelly's a little mouthpiece with small man syndrome. And he uploaded a video of all these like goons in all black, or goons in fucking like black hoodies and masked up and shit behind him, and he's like chirping off that he'll fuck him up. So Ghostface made a response video skits with all like nanas behind him and shit.
I love that.
It was so funny.
Video.
There's a video.
I'll have to. Is it on YouTube and shit?
Dane, pop it up.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll chuck it up there.
Hey, some dumb shit again. This album, this Shaolin, I'm gonna erase all your shit from this album.
Right here, man. Right here.
I'm gonna erase you from the record books of rap.
Yeah, until just this second, I'd completely forgotten about that. But I remember seeing those videos.
Yeah.
Just being like, this is wild.
It's
Like,
so funny.
Ghostface is beefing with some fucking farmer business nerd guy.
Yeah.
And then he ended up, becoming a total absolute definition of a narcissistic piece of shit.
What has it been like setting up for it? Like, obviously the security measures have been, I'm assuming, quite tight. Even with, I guess what you'd have to be most focused on, and not to say you, but it would be the staff, because they're there so much, and you'd really want people you can trust there.
Absolutely.
In a way. Because
I guess, there probably is a risk, but when we were sort of all briefed about it, it was very apparent that if any sort of boundaries were crossed, that it would be particularly bad.
Yeah.
Like, not just lose your job bad, like get prosecuted bad.
Yeah.
Did
But
you ever press record?
hey?
Did you ever press record?
No.
Right.
And I guess like the whole thing is like if someone was to do that, Mona's reputation's on the line.
100, bro. They took bigger risk.
Lockie
Yeah,
messaged
big
me that
risk.
yesterday. Lockie's like, told Lockie that it'd gone. I was like, bro, it's actually really good. I think you'd appreciate the production for the most part over like the rhymes and shit. He goes, well, like, just saying, it's not really hard for dames that just accidentally leave Pro Tools going and press R. you could just do that. And I'm like,
We'd actually any of the recording equipment in the studio is all powered down and off. And
yeah, no, I assumed so. Lockie's brain is just like,
yeah.
it wouldn't be hard
people-
for him to make a mistake. Like, that's just a mistake, right? And then he accidentally emailed it to me. What's the issue there?
Yeah, and I get like
Lucky
even
brain.
the playback is, unable to be recorded on the playback device sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, it's on a PlayStation.
Yeah, true.
So, but yeah, it's like, and as is welcomed in the said in the intro, which I'm not going to throw out, but it's like, don't be the tosser that ruins it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy.
That actually,
Yeah.
that was a really cheerful
Yeah.
intro before they press play on the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could if you, and even down the track, if more listening parties happen or something, and someone was to do that, you'd probably put yourself in the same ballpark as Shkreli. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
what I was
ruining
just
shit
thinking.
to
You know
like
what I
your
mean?
own,
Because there's heaps of people that are like, I've heard a couple people. Multiple people go, it's on YouTube, man. It's like, no, it's not.
There is there's this
no,
whatever.
there's
It's,
a minute on YouTube, and it sounds awful.
Yeah.
If you search it up, there's heaps of fake ones, because I looked it up
There's
prior. I wanted to
dozens
see if
of
there was
fake
any other like what the general content was around the album.
when
There's a lot of people claiming that X and Y Z, maybe it's like unreleased song or like
there is
a leaked demo or something.
there is a video of Cilvaringz playing a whole bunch of beats. And apparently some of the beats in this sort of listening session that he was doing are some of the ones that made the album. And when Martin Shkreli owned it, he said in 2016, if Trump won the election, that he'd play 15 minutes on YouTube, which he actually did, but it was flagged like super quickly.
Immediately.
But people
Yeah,
then
taken
still
down.
could have, they 100% would have got screen recordings of
Oh,
that.
but the only screen record, like, you can look up that live stream on YouTube on like, little niche websites, even just like Reddit and all that. It's like a minute and a half that you can, that's the only thing that you can really find from Shkreli's live stream.
Yeah,
And it's the intro that we've heard that.
right.
Yeah.
And I recognize that as, because I've
Yeah.
been craving to hear this album
Yeah,
since it's
but
released. So
anything
I've
that's
clicked
like-
that many times, that video.
Might be a potential of being something that was on it. It was like you like dug it out and like, I want to hear this.
Yeah, and as soon as they press play and that started, I was like, I actually have heard this, but I'm hearing it properly. And there's a good difference. Hearing it how it's meant to be heard was way better than Martin Shkreli's dusty ass webcam and his like dressing robe.
Yeah, and I guess when people like download the movie and then re-upload it and it goes through.
Yeah. Gets butchered.
Just
gets
bullshit
compressed.
YouTube compression and fucking transcoded or whatever, and it's going to sound like absolute dust.
With that setup with the PS1 though, so it went from whatever audio input it has into the PS1, yeah, which is what is that?
RCA.
It's so there's two different versions of the original PS1. One has a AV multi out, which is like one proprietary connector, but the PlayStation that was brought from the US has standard.
And so did that then go from there into
AV,
like a interface and then into like what was the process of getting? Did it go straight from that into because it was fucking huge speakers?
Yeah, basically from there into a multi-split, so it can go into the control room in the studio.
Yeah,
and then into the PA.
All of a PS1. We'll put up a photo in it as well. It's just funny that because I walked in, I saw it. I didn't really know. I didn't go look. I didn't know if we could kind of go up. I was like, I'm just going to sit down. But then afterwards, we went up and looked at it. And it was just literally a PlayStation 1 that
did
this
actually
thing
look
was played on. That this art is that's what it sell for, $4 million. What was it? So $4 million art was played on a PlayStation fucking 1. Like, I think that's just PS1s are still probably going for a bit of coin these days. Like to get one in working condition, bro.
To get like a decent condition, I had a little look on eBay and they're not cheap.
No, I haven't actually seen one
like 700
working in ages.
Yeah.
Like in ages. That sound though definitely was.
Well, that
nostalgic,
sound
yeah.
took me back to the era when I was listening to Wu-Tang.
No, it's pretty crazy, eh? What would you say if you give it one describing word for the entire album or the section we heard? What would you describe it as?
One word to describe the whole experience?
Okay, I can be a bit lenient, I can give you 3.
No, I mean, I don't, like. Do you mean just the record or just the
Just as you're listening to it, I could have described it.
Surreal.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't really have one word. My brain just goes a billion words. I just talk about it forever.
Wu-Tang.
Yeah, Wu-Tang. That's the one word. Wu-Tang is life.
Do we know if any other like artist or anything has done something like this, like with doing the one-off album or one-off project
to
piece?
this scale, it's definitely the first of its kind.
Imagine it's probably been done, but like to the scale of an entity, because Wu-Tang aren't really just a rap group or a band or there's so many elements to Wu-Tang. Like when I was young, I remember that the tracksuits were big. Everyone was wearing.
Yeah, Wu-Wear was hectic.
Yeah, Wu-Wear.
I had some original Wu-Wear. Someone stole it off me like a couple of years ago, and when I see them wear it, they're dead.
Yeah, and they had video games and movie appearances, and
Yeah, they did everything. It was like world domination.
Yeah, and like true to Riz's credit, when he started, he was like, give me 5 years and we'll be number one.
Yeah, the 5-year plan.
Yeah, and then
It's like signed to
and then
Wu Records.
Not all of them, but they had some pretty successful sort of solo breakouts from like they're just such a juggernaut of a
Even just how they were signing to labels, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Wu-Tang and then the solo artists, the way that they went with this 5-year plan that Damesel was referring to was he said, give me 5 years of your life. We're like stealing food cans from the grocery store right now. In 5 years, we'll be on top. In that 5 years, they did the Wu-Tang, the first album, 36 Chambers. So everyone was like signed to Wu-Tang Productions, but they were having solo careers, like putting their music out through different labels. Not one artist was signed to the same label. And it included Wu-Tang Clan's album. So everyone went onto a different label. So every label was putting Wu-Tang out. They had their own marketing audiences.
That's
yeah,
great.
so
That's why they would have just
from
taken over
Def
in
Jam to
numbers.
Elektra to like everywhere. They were on every label. But they were all rapping Wu-Tang, and RZA was producing every album at that point.
Yeah, right.
And then
He
they
was
did Wu-Tang
basically
Forever 5 years later.
chained to his what did he use? MV 80,000 drum machine.
Yeah.
Oh, like SP12 as well. But yeah, probably just chained in a basement to his drum machines and.
Yeah, and there was the flood in between that as well, where certain
they
albums got
lost.
lost.
Was
Inspectah
it
Deck.
Inspectah Deck's album? Yeah,
Because he's like
And the album
arguably
got-
the most talented rapper, and there are a few albums lost, but some were recovered. Like Liquid Source is one of the albums that got damaged in the flood, but they recovered that.
What was this
Inspectah
flood? What?
Deck's
Where?
So there was a
RZA's
flood
studio
in
got
his studio.
flooded and he lost like a whole bunch of material. And apparently, when it happened, Inspectah Deck was the next member to have his solo album put out, and it was finished and done.
Right.
He was to be the next thing, but it ended up not being till like 5 years later that they
Longer, it was because 5 years later was
was quite
Wu-Tang
quite
Forever. It was like
way down.
99 by the time we got, maybe 98.
I think it was 98 when
Was when we got
Inspectah Deck's
that.
album came out, but it was like it's kind of a bit of a sore point because if his album had come out when it was supposed to, that maybe his solo career would have gone the way of like Raekwon and
Well, he is the
Ghostface.
most skilled, in my opinion. Like, I prefer listening to other artists of the Wu-Tang as far as solo shit goes, but he's the best.
You mean in terms of just like
Yeah, if you break down what makes a good rapper,
like an MC
Inspectah Deck's the
skilled-
best.
Yeah.
So with a question that just came to mind then, with Mona getting this, and it's probably like you can't disclose, and if you can't disclose this, we'll just completely cut it out anyway. How did the, like, I guess the transaction go in the sense of like, it was obviously a free event. Like, was it something that the owner was like, yeah, I'm keen as to just do this, like for the once off, just for the cause, or did they have to? We
Did they have to drop a bunch of money on it?
they had to drop absolute. You're looking at me. I'm
How
like,
many bags went on this, son?
We definitely can't disclose. And it doesn't have to be a figure. I thought it was really cool that they did it for free. Man, those tickets you could have sold for
Oh yeah,
five
And
figures. Honestly, like
Well, even
people
on-
would have paid that.
even on
Some
Reddit,
people-
there was in a few of the even Tasmanian subreddits or hip hop ones or whatever, people were like feverishly trying to be like, oh, I will buy.
and
it
had that FOMO effect, bro.
Yeah, well,
It did.
I guess that's and ties into the whole nature of the name dropping
Yeah,
extension.
I only have one friend that was able to get a ticket. Like, everyone else was like, how the fuck did you get it? So that FOMO
Yeah.
was fucking real.
Yeah,
like,
when I put up that story yesterday,
Yeah.
people were like, what the
like
fuck?
even just through we're all involved in the hip hop community down here. I think most people that I know that were keen in our hip hop scene were like, do I actually know anyone that got one? And everyone's just whinging and not whinging, but like quite upset that they've missed out. And
Yeah, absolutely.
sometimes I see Dames that just like it and imagine his little chuckle in his head.
How many messages did you get, bro? You would have got
Yeah,
an abundance.
I ended up just putting my phone on Do Not Disturb after it was announced.
Yeah.
Like when it was officially announced, because obviously I'd told a few people that it was happening beforehand.
Yeah.
Hermit being one. 'Cause when it was like, even just in the talks of happening, I was like, bro, guess what we might be doing?
Yeah, I remember.
And you just like, no way.
Yeah, it's at
Yeah,
New Year's
way.
Eve when we went to David's little thing above
Yeah,
Mona,
yeah.
and you came over to me like, "See that guy I was just talking to?" I'm like, yeah, he goes, he owns the Wu-Tang album. I'm like, I'm too drunk for this. Don't play with me, Dames. Like, oh, it was just Right.
We just keep going.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
just
it's
crazy the amount of want for it.
yeah, and even just the nature of the people that own it. Like when you meet, I mean, they're a pretty big collective. There's like 140 something members of Pleaser. Who are
Yeah, okay.
but the guy that's come out is,
So they're all like NFT crypto dudes.
yeah,
aren't they?
it's a collective that started on Twitter. They
Yeah, okay, cool.
someone tweeted, does anyone want to buy this NFT from this artist, People Pleaser? And they all sort of started pooling money to buy these NFTs, and that's where they got their name, Pleaser, and just sort of built from there. And just like, but there's people all over the world that are involved with the collective,
That's sick.
but it's
So I don't know
predominant-
much about that world at all.
Neither do I. Like NFTs and crypto and stuff, kind of.
It confuses and scares me.
Both of those things actually. It confuses the fuck out of me, and kind of terrifies me at the same time.
100%. I know Oscar's really good with it. He's pretty much lived off crypto for the past few years.
I know some people that
NFTs.
were good with it for a few months and then lost all their money.
Yeah, and it just crashed.
Yeah.
Everyone that I know was a crypto dude down here no longer does it.
Maybe they just don't talk about it as much.
They all have the same answer though. I'm like, you're not nerding on the crypto, and they're like, yeah, it was a bit of a bad season that turned into a couple seasons, and
I mean, it's going to be, I guess it's one of those things, like the nature of something like NFTs. I remember trying to explain to my mum, like, what an NFT, and she's like, what? So you buy the art, but you don't actually have, like, a tangible thing. You just own this digital version. Like, yeah, it's also confusing to me. Like, you know.
Do you think that we'll see maybe now that this, because obviously I am not as knowledged up on Wu-Tang stuff or even that much of a fan. Like
we'll fix that, bro.
But do you think that due to this happening and getting like heaps of like eyes, like obviously before this podcast, like you just search up like Wu-Tang and the whole like first page, second page is all of what's happening now.
Yeah.
Like it's everywhere over the internet. Like if you just search that name, that comes up before their music of what's happening now. Do you think that we will see it? And who are the people that you think if they did do it, or people, person, artist, whatever, and they could pull it off to this degree? Like, because I was thinking that for the artists that I listen to, like who...
Oh, you're saying if a current artist were to do something similar, like a one of one?
Yeah, who could pull it off? Like to
I don't
this,
know, man, because like
Taylor
as we were
Swift?
saying,
yeah,
yeah,
legit.
that's actually a pretty
no,
valid
yeah,
point.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, well, like one of the pop artists.
It'd
sort
be
of
very
thing, but
different though, wouldn't
Taylor
it? Imagine the
Swift,
listening parties
Ed
for them.
Sheeran, possibly.
Ed
Like those sort of
Sheeran,
dudes.
Possibly Drake.
Yeah.
I hate to say.
Yeah, I know you
that.
just hate Drake, but it's okay. This is just an objective.
Yeah,
thing.
no, I know. I'm trying to break the wall down.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Drake.
Yeah.
Sick. Fuck yeah, Drake.
Maybe he's a bit past it, but maybe Eminem.
Oh, bro, definitely.
Yeah, Eminem. No, I think Eminem
That'd be
could, but it
sick.
would have to be the same thing as Wu-Tang. It was made years ago.
Yeah,
sort of thing,
yeah,
you know
not
what I mean?
current.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If he
yeah.
did one now,
Yeah.
would you
It
be?
wouldn't-
No, well, not, his last few albums have not held up enough for people to give a fuck
It wouldn't have the
about
same
that.
novelty.
But if
as-
he went, hey, in the same period I was doing all your favourite albums,
Yeah, I did this.
have a
I did the
secret,
secret one in 2001.
you can buy it for $10 million, yeah, it would have the same effect.
that
but
would be cool. I think it just needs to be an artist that holds a lot of influence within the culture of music. Like Wu-Tang Clan obviously did. Someone like Eminem, definitely. And then current people that are holding a lot of culture, like, yeah, Taylor Swift.
Swift
Like,
is
you
probably-
see it, how
Yeah.
crazy people are going at the concerts and they're all like...
Dude, I saw a thing that I forget which country it was, but they fucking set off a earthquake. Like it was the people jumping at her concert. It was like
but there was so
readable
much.
on seismology equipment that it was like registering like an earthquake at a Taylor Swift concert.
Really?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Bro,
Yeah.
she's bringing in hype, bro.
I know, but I don't get it because I don't hate pop music.
I have this
but I
discussion
think
with a
she's
lot of people
terrible.
with Taylor Swift.
Bro,
I don't
Dames
think- I don't think
Dames
she's
loves that
terrible.
shit.
I don't think she's like great. I just think she's really mid.
Actually, that's a better way
Do you know
to
what I mean?
put
Like,
it. I'm probably being a bit. She's not. She's not great at all. Like ever, never was. There's way better pop music out there.
I
Like
think
if
her
that's
co-
your
I think-
sound, like
I-
you like that sort of shit.
I
There's
think
way
her
better
country music is probably better than her pop music, but in terms like
Country music is just better than pop music. Country.
she's clearly got an amazing marketing team. Like the whole thing where she re-recorded all the albums. And
Maybe she's a witch and
you
possesses
know,
all
you know
these.
what she did with that when she was like locked into all this label bullshit. So rather than where she was not getting any money from the albums, so she just re-recorded them all.
I did hear about that.
And then they all charted again, and she basically was just like a massive.
Yeah, 'cause she's like fighting for her masters for ages.
Yeah, and she like all of her like road crew and stuff. She looks after exceptionally well, but like pays them, you know, what they should be getting paid by everyone else. But
I love how we've gone from Wu-Tang to Taylor Swift.
Because she's fucking everywhere at the moment. She was like Wu-Tang in the late 90s, early 2000s. Just everywhere you fucking look.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah,
overall,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
to bring
Fuck's
it back
sake.
to the more
What happened?
formal topic at hand, overall, I think from my perspective, it was a really cool experience to be amongst them, to be one out of the whatever the figure was that we came up with at the start of the pod.
600 for these ones.
600.
Would it
One of
make
those-
you want to listen to Wu-Tang more?
Definitely, but it's not going to make me a super fan. Like, I'm not just going to be
No, I
like...
don't expect to be a super fan, but would it like make you want to like listen to their other
Yeah,
albums?
for
to, like,
sure. I
hear
think the
a
concept-
full-length project and shit.
Yeah. I think the concept of it is dope. Like we were saying before, like it hasn't been done to
Yeah.
that degree. I think it's really cool. I like the comical side to the stuff that they've done as well with, you know, the video game. I like when artists and creatives expand with it, especially with their music, expand out a lot more. Like, and there's like more layers and depth to their artistry.
Oh
So it's
man,
like-
just
When
The
they're
levels
doing
they've
like
gone is
music,
next
they're
level.
doing like TV. Like when I saw, this is just something obviously within my thing, but when I saw like Dave on Top Boy, that's dope. You know, when you see, and they're all like mad creatives and so like
yeah,
good
no,
at that
Wu-Tang.
shit. I love
Method Man's a
seeing
mad
like that.
actor
So I
now.
have
Method Man is a great actor.
He's in
immense amount of
stuff. You know,
respect
How
for that.
High,
How
bro.
High, I was
Have you
listening-
seen? Like, you know, I know you're not a Wu-Tang man, but you've seen How High back in
yeah,
the 90s.
yeah.
It's one of the main. It's Redman and Method Man.
Yeah. I would have known that.
You would have. Oh god. Sometimes I ask why am I friends with you. But, no,
Red
you know
Man,
they've
the,
done
the
heaps of shit.
unofficial most Wu-Tang person in Wu-Tang. Or
Yeah,
not
for
in
sure.
Wu-Tang, sorry.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, because the others that are affiliates are just Wu-Tang affiliates. Like, you know, you got Capadonna, Sons of Man, and all that. Killer Priest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's it. Yeah.
And
And Cilvaringz is the
yeah, I guess Cilvaringz is as well. Yeah, yeah. Well, he is. He produced this album, so he is Wu-Tang.
How many people do you know? It'd be cool if you did. How many people signed up to get tickets or waited?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when the announcement was made that it was happening, and it was like tickets go online on X day at 10 a.m. You sort of had to log into the online portal and there were close to 10,000 people in the queue
Yeah, wow.
for 600 tickets.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I guess no one knew at the time it was just 600, hey.
It banked very quickly as well.
Like they knew, no one, like it wasn't
They all
public
went
knowledge.
in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
At my home, because the time that they were
Because I heard
meant to
some people
go
were
up,
waiting like an
I
hour.
told all
or-
the homies that wanted them this time, bro. Like, because I had a couple mates. I'm gonna be honest. They hit me up. They're like, "Oh, your mates with Dames around, yeah?" I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "You reckon you could talk to him about helping us all with some tickets?" I'm like, "No, he doesn't know you.
Yeah.
This is for the public." And they're like, "Yeah, all right." And I'm like, "Be on there at 10 a.m. or whatever it was."
Yeah, I've heard
And
stories
then,
of
10
people-
a.m. It was 6,000 people.
Yeah, I've heard stories of people that had like multiple phones.
Dita did that at work.
Yeah, and or
He's
like,
meant to be on a
and
call
like
center.
logged in all at the same time on multiple devices to try and get one.
I think Dita has like two
See,
computers running at work and his phone and his
hearing
work
that-
phone, and it was oldest Wu-Tang lineup.
Hearing how hard it was to get tickets, I know that if I had signed up, because obviously like Herbert and I, we didn't wait for tickets. Like we got the plug. Very fortunate.
Yeah.
But
one of
I
few
could just
people that
imagine
did.
though the people that were like, there was one dude in front of us, the dude that was wearing the Wu-Tang hoodie.
Yeah.
He was there with like his missus, and I can tell that dude was like fucking ecstatic, bro, for being there. And
He was the one dude that I was like, I'm happy to be in the room with
You
this guy.
knew
'Cause
that
I
he
could,
was like
I could
a-
see it. We didn't have one conversation, but I was like,
There's been
this
a
dude
few people
feels
like that.
the way
But-
I'm feeling right
but
now.
to
Like,
have been one of
we're
those
both just neck
600,
snapping.
to have been one of those 600, and if you were like a mega fan, like that would feel pretty fucking dope. Especially if you had to wait in line. Like obviously you're a fucking huge fan, but it was just kind of like,
I was just very, very blessed
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be in the right
There's-
place
there's
at the
one
right
guy
time with
who's,
the right friends.
who emailed and sent a whole bunch of photos, and he's like, I would actually stake a claim to being Australia's biggest Wu-Tang fan.
did you give him tickets?
And his like his van has custom Wu-Tang number plates.
Bro.
He's in the photo. It was a really nicely done photo, and he's got like the hat, the hoodie, the original Protect Your Neck 12-inch sealed, and I was like that like as a record.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
cool
wow.
as
And then I zoomed in
fuck.
the photo, and he had all the so the comic book, the 9 rings of Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
He had all the 9 rings as well, and I was just like, I think this guy might actually be Australia's biggest Wu-Tang fan. And his email came through. It was like, this guy needs to be here.
So you sorted him out?
Yeah, he's coming down.
That's dope.
That's
bro.
awesome. See, that's
sick.
the one thing I really wanted to know happen. Like, there are certain people that, you know, for
But
them,
also,
it's not
kinda
much
cool
bigger
to
than
see,
hearing
like,
an album.
It's kind of cool to see, like, you know, a 65-year-old woman come in who's got, you know, no idea who the Wu-Tang are, but also to see them like actually like vibing out and not, you know, because most of the people in my life at that age are like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
rap music,
100%.
but yeah, there's been a few people that are like, this is awesome. It's been a wild experience. There's something that was like, I would never normally do something like this, but it's that, I guess, that exclusivity, hottest ticket in town. Everyone wants to do it and experience it.
It was pretty dope. It was dope. I guess then to wrap it up, what's your last sort of things that you want to share with the world about?
Wu-Tang
listening?
is forever and Wu-Tang is for the children.
Wu-Tang is for the children. We may be doing a secret children's listening. The producer today said, what do you think of this idea? Wu-Tang is for the children. Should we do a children's one? I was like, maybe.
Do the kids still have to be accompanied by an
What,
adult?
just
'Cause
like
I got a
absolute,
9-year-old
like-
sister.
Like toddlers. Like they have no concept of
Bro,
what is going on.
No, that's actually sick. My 9-year-old sister needs this. She needs Wu-Tang.
I don't know if it's actually going to happen.
No, just any way that I can take her so
it's
I can
happening
hear
with
it
a
again.
delay. Old mate's playing
Like, I
back.
don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, the takeaway from it is even after I hear it a bunch more times, I really want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, I even get that vibe.
Yeah.
I even felt that same way.
So bad.
Definitely. Once that 30 minutes finished, I was like, oh, you know, like it just wasn't enough.
But you never know. We thought we'd never hear the 36 minutes as Wu-Tang fans.
Yeah,
So
and I guess like
the possibilities might come up in the future before we're gone.
But if it doesn't, we won't again in our lifetime be able to hear that with the contracted terms. We'll all be dead before that actually comes out. So it's pretty dope that.
And I guess that's up to, you know, Pleaser and
Even when those terms do come out, so when it does hit 2000, what is it? What's the date that needs to be?
2000.
There's 2,103.
Right. So even when that does hit that doesn't mean they have to put it out.
No, it just means
That's when it's allowed to be.
whoever owns it can commercially release it. And
What was
fuck,
what
if you
would
owned it, and if Wu-Tang in 2103 still have a name and you could sell it,
bro, that
fuck,
thing's
go
gonna
go for your
go
life.
up in value so much.
And
By then,
there'll
that
be a
thing will be
market for
worth
that.
millions.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's if the world is even a fucking thing. But
And that'll be an anniversary of Wu-Tang because, you know, they started in 1993, so it'll be like 120 years or some shit
that's pretty crazy to have.
since the first release. It'll be like, and here's the unreleased album, motherfuckers, from 120 years ago.
But, you know,
I hope hip-hop's still just as relevant then.
maybe
Man, people.
because in the stipulations in the contract, that's how listening party. You can do listening parties. You can show
Yeah,
the
you're allowed
people.
to show your friends and shit.
But currently, Pleaser recently, just this week, entered a legal battle with Martin Shkreli.
yeah, because he's duplicated it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they've said that he's made copies and that he's also done them on live streams. I think, like, I'm not sure if it was Twitch or YouTube, but that he was playing them on live streams. But they've filed a pretty massive lawsuit against him. And
Is he still in jail?
no, he was released in 2022.
Okay, well, he's probably gonna go
He's
back.
out now, and I've seen it. Obviously with all the hype around this, I actually, went. I was like, oh, maybe he's got some interviews since he got out of jail talking about it, and he's openly bragging that he's like, yeah, I've got copies of that, and he's also, bragging about all this other really exclusive music that he's apparently got. But.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
sure.
respectfully, fuck him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's a terrible human, bro.
Respectfully, definitely not doing it for the culture.
No.
No, he's he almost like was thriving on the fact of being like this sort of like the notoriety he had, like some sort of internet Lex Luthor, just like
Yeah, it was very much like
Love being
Lex
an evil-
Luthor sort of. I
Yeah.
want to be.
I want to be evil and I want to be famous for being
Yeah,
evil.
yeah.
And he thought it was cool, and then it was like
Everyone else is just like, nah, bro.
No, it's not.
Yeah, he
And
sort of
No.
reminds me of the Riddler.
You're
from,
also
like,
going to
Batman.
jail.
Yeah. He's got double
we
fucked.
looked it up a couple of days ago, but apparently he went to some really like minimum security thing in Pennsylvania.
Oh, he would have been in protection and all, bro.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
little rats like that. 'Cause you know what I mean? Like also being in prison, like a few people need those pills that he just put up for $700. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
he's
my-
a bit of
my-
a target.
my
People are
auntie-
dying because of him.
My auntie's gonna die because of what you did. So apparently in the lawsuits, it was the changes he made to the prices and the medication he had the rights to. It could be attributed directly responsible to just over 2,000 people dying.
Wow.
So like almost a mass murder by proxy, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that's past mass murder, bro. That's
yeah,
It's also just like crazy.
It's a small little. There's a genocide on people with a certain disease.
yeah.
It's crazy how many
Daraprim was the
layers there are
the
to.
medication, one of the medications.
It's crazy how many layers there are to this album in a way. Like this dude has had it,
stories
and he
are
has
amazing.
like all this quite dense past of some messed up shit, and now it's here in Tasmania, out Berrydale.
Even,
Yeah.
the, even the
Like-
story of just the album being created before it was even sold, has quite an interesting backstory in it. And amongst a lot of like really diehard Wu-Tang fans, it's like a bit of a polarizing thing. Some people are like, "Oh, I really want to hear it. It's going to be amazing." Some people are like, "Oh, it's not a real Wu-Tang album because RZA didn't make the beats."
Yeah, a lot of fans that I know that I've spoken to before listening to it or whatever, it was, no, it's probably going to be shit. It's going to be real bad.
It
RZA didn't
sounds
produce
bad,
it. And
but in
also
some-
there's the whole, after 2000, people weren't that keen on the Wu-Tang albums that were coming out, like the
Yeah.
W and...
I don't mind the W.
I like the W. I thought it was good, and then I can't remember the name. It's when it's black and white cover where they're holding the flag and they're all in like military gear. You know the one?
I know the one, but the name's eluding me as well. But even you see interviews with a few members of the Wu-Tang, Method Man especially, who's extremely eloquent and
Yeah.
like seems like a really highly intelligent dude. Seeing him talk about it and not like throwing RZA under the bus or anything, but being like, I wish I knew more about what the project was going to be before I did my verses for it or whatever.
Yeah, because they didn't know the plan.
No.
They just thought they were coming in to make another album.
Well, they thought they were making a Wu-Tang affiliate album with Cilvaringz, not an actual Wu-Tang album.
And then no one was going to get to hear it.
Yeah, and then it was like,
But now it's here.
but they all joined the Wu-Tang with the caveat that RZA was,
Yeah, he's...
he's the abbot, he pulls the strings.
And with a lot of Wu-Tang members, man, like I love all of them as far as like being a fan. RZA, Method Man has a bit of it too, but RZA's like the businessman. Like Raekwon and Killah and all that, they're all still very...
Yeah, I think you're right. And
They react, not
but
respond.
it's also interesting that he's the producer as well. He's kind of really... So the man behind the sound, the man behind the image, the man behind
Yeah,
drawing them
the
all
vision of it
together, the
all,
vision,
the
like,
plan.
and then some people, like super diehard Wu-Tang fans, some people are like, nah, fuck RZA. Like, he did them dirty on this
That's
album.
my
I'm like,
idol, bro.
Do we know if they've said anything publicly about it being listened to here? Like any of the members? Have they said anything about that
That's
at
a
all?
really good question, actually.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
I haven't
anything.
seen or heard anything.
Yeah, neither have
It's just
I.
like they just don't care.
If they have, pull it up, Dan.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll get up any statements on the video. But
Yeah, it may be that they don't even know that it's even happening.
Surely they would.
They might now that it's garnered a bit of media attention.
Interesting. I'm going to look into that afterwards.
I
and
feel
if I can,
like
I'll
at least RZA would know.
put a few
Like
things up.
Cilvaringz would surely tell RZA if he's made a mix. The Tasmanian Chamber, which also makes me very happy. There's a Tasmanian Chamber at Wu-Tang.
Yeah, that's what he called it.
But that's pretty dope. I think we'll wrap it up here because one of the cameras is low on storage. And this is the first podcast that we've actually kind of self-filmed ourselves. Shout out Dane, obviously, for doing all that he does. He brought his cameras up, but we've filmed this one ourselves and whatnot. And I want to say a massive thanks and shout out to Damesar for the work that he's done there, and also for coming on to kind of have a bit of a yarn and get myself and Hermit involved in something that not a lot of people will do in their lifetime at all.
Damesar has given me a dream that I actually was like,
Thank you.
when Grace messaged me about that it was happening, I was like, yeah, I know Damesar's really doing this. So she goes, you've talked about me since I met you.
Oh, that's going to sound terrible.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah,
you and my brother were like two people that when it was like, I was like, okay, these people need to go.
No, I actually appreciate
And
it
my
so
brother
much.
had a really good take on it. He's like, it's like the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
He's like, so much hype around it, and then you've got to,
So special.
I mean, but the Mona Lisa's on display all the time.
But that's it. That
This
was
isn't-
episode 3. Started off with some decent heaters. I'm quite proud to say that I've got a podcast on this topic.
Snotty Nose Hermit, episode
Snotty
3.
Nose Kids. Old. Peace out. Done.